Hello class, my name is India Purnell and I am one of your TAs for this course. So today I'm going to be talking to you about group therapy and specifically group therapy for substance abuse. I have a little bit of experience with that with my undergraduate internship with La Frontera Suicide Prevention. I was a part of the substance abuse team program that they had while I was there, and it was a really awesome experience. And so I'd like to share with you a couple benefits from group therapy. First of all, there are different types of group therapy that exist. They have psychoeducational groups, which kind of teaches you about substance abuse and what that entails. And then there are skill development groups, which kind of hone in on the skills necessary to break free of addiction. And they also have cognitive behavioral groups that kind of change or try to rearrange the patterns of in thinking and actions of which you think about substance abuse. And then there are support groups. Those kind of groups are formed of members that have kind of the same situation that you're involved in, and those really benefit because it allows that person to kind of view things in a different light and at different levels of entry for the group. Some can kind of debunk some of the myths and some of the things about group therapy and kind of allow everybody to learn in a cohesive environment. And interpersonal process groups, which fancy terminology is a therapy group, and it kind of allows the client to recreate their past in the here and now type of sense, and kind of just rethink and rationalize some of the things that have been going on in their life and why they do have an issue with substance abuse. And so some of the really good things about group therapy is that it can really provide like a positive environment for peers, and where you are in an environment or in a group where people like you and people who are dealing with the same issues that you're dealing with have the opportunity to share and kind of feel as if they're not alone anymore, in a sense, because clients do tend to feel that their problems are unlike anyone else's, and that there's nobody in the world that feels like them, and there's nobody in the world that deals with these issues, when in fact there are many people that deal with substance abuse issues, and there are more similarities than there are differences when it comes to clients. It also reduces, like I was saying, the kind of sense of isolation, like I'm alone in this and I don't have anybody that I can go to, that I can speak with, that's going to really understand me and that's not going to judge me. That's a really important part about the progression of a client, is that they really should not be in situations or environments where they are going to be subjected to judgment. Negative judgment, I would say, with no kind of connection or correlation to how they could positively grow from that. It's not necessarily the best way to help their progression, and so that's something that group therapy provides. It provides a way for clients to relate to others in a safe environment, and for them to even share some of the coping mechanisms and skills that they've created along their journey with recovery of addiction. It also kind of gives a person the opportunity to kind of witness that growth that we were talking about, and to see that, hey, I may be at this point, at this moment, but I see this person that was, in a similar situation as mine, and look how far they have come and look how much they have grown. And so they will be able to see that through group therapy, and if they're someone else getting individual therapy as well, that in combination of all this treatment, that things can get better, but it's a part of the growth and the work that the client puts into the therapeutic relationship. And so I think another good thing about group therapy is that it teaches people how to cope with their substance abuse, and ways that they can, positive ways that they can deal without necessarily going to alcohol or going to drugs, and ways that they can just use to be a better person and to live a successful, sober-free life. I specifically worked with teens, as I said earlier before, and a lot of the things that we addressed was how to say no to peers, or what kind of friends and what kind of surroundings you should set yourself in if you are trying to live a clean and healthy, sober life. And sometimes the life that clients live, it's not necessarily that easy for them to dismiss their friends, or, kind of get away from that, because it may be something that's, right next door, or, kind of in their face, or maybe in the home. And it's just not that easy to say no sometimes. And so what group therapy does, it allows that client to feel supported by those individuals around that have dealt with those same issues, and allows the therapist to, show the client that there are coping mechanisms, there are skills that can be used that don't involve substance abuse for what any stress or anything that is happening in the home currently. Or if it's not in the home, it could be at the school or at work or any setting, honestly. And it really does provide useful information for recovery. It just gives them a live view of what we read in books and in articles and in journals, and it really just gives them that face value fact, like, hey, this person was able to do this, but they had to put in this work, and they were able to, get this outcome. So it tells that client that if I put in this amount of work, if I continue to stay on my path and stay true to myself and my sobriety life, then there is a chance that I can, be just as successful, if not more. And I would say the best thing that group therapy does is it gives you feedback about your life, and it gives you feedback of where you are and what your mindset is about certain things. Sometimes we're just so set in our ways, and that's people in general, not just clients, because clients specifically are very set in their ways and don't feel like they are wrong, or feel as if the way that they think is the only correct way to think about a certain thing. In actuality, it's not. There's very many ways to look at one thing. I remember one of my favorite activities that I got to do as a co-facilitator was we had a chance to do some music therapy. And with music therapy, what was done was basically a few different lyrics were printed out from different genres of songs. I can give you example. We did, that's when Happy had just come out, so Happy by Pharrell Williams. And we did, we did a couple of, just a couple different songs from different genres, and we asked for them to pick their own song from the pile, from what we had available, and they were to interpret it in their own words and kind of just not rewrite it, but just what they felt each line meant, and what lines kind of resonated with them, or what kind of lines really stood out to them, and what those meant to them. And I can't tell you how many different interpretations of like the same song that we got, but I remember one of the girls asked me, so she said, "Who's right?" at the end of the activity, and I said, "All of you guys are right." It's a matter of how you perceive things. Just because the writer of the lyrics wrote those lyrics, it does not mean that they can't be perceived in any different way. And I think it's really important to show that something can be written down, something can be, documented one way, but how we all perceive it and how we all read it and take in that information is totally different. And so I was kind of, the relation to that is, as a person, we strive to be, the best person we can be, even when we are in a different mindset. But some of the perceptions and some of the things that we do doesn't necessarily, fit somebody else's mindset and what we believe is to be correct and what we believe is right. And so it doesn't, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference that we perceive things differently. It actually makes us unique and something we should use as a strength and not think of as a weakness. And so that's what I really wanted to share with you guys. Group therapy and some of the cool things that can be done with it. I really hope that you guys take some information from this, and those who are interested in group therapy or possibly being a facilitator in the near future. Just be mindful and understand that you will have so many different types of people in your group, and your goal is to make sure that, one, things stay cohesive, and two, that everybody benefits from it, especially in a group sense of substance abuse. They all are there for one main factor. And so they do have that main factor in common, which many of them, I'm sure, see as a weakness. It is your job as a facilitator, as a social worker, as a support system to show that as, this may have been a weakness at one point, but let's work on making you stronger by giving you different coping skills and different things that you can do instead of committing to substance abuse. Okay, so that's it for me.